Hey there, mate. How you going? Sorry for the delay of the video. My grandma had a minor heart attack yesterday, and I spent quite a bit of time in the hospital. And yeah, got back and was just pretty exhausted. So I fell asleep straight away. I didn't want to, but I did. So I just get this video done now, and yeah, just really wanted to get this information out to you straight away, so we can monitor it. I'm going to give you a prediction on where Bitcoin should be in the next couple of weeks in terms of time, the timing of it exactly, which will be around October 9th to the October 13th area. Expecting it to be at a certain price on that date. And if it is and it forms that way, then there's just an amazing trade for us to take in a risk reward ratio where we would only be whatever capital we are risking, it's to make at least 7 times that. And I'll show you that on the chart in a sec. So those sort of trades are really hard to come by. Like, you know, these major setups where you can get a really big gain from a very small outlay, it's tough to do. Normally I work with around a 2.5 to 3 times what I'm risking in a trade. That's generally what I like to do. That's generally what you can get. I mean, you don't want to be sort of too greedy and try and get too much out of a trade, as long as you can consistently get in there and make your small profits, and they obviously build up. So, but this one's a big one. So yeah, looking forward to it, man. I really hope it comes to fruition. So I guess just to give you a bit of a background and to begin, I've always been interested in what's actually causing things to go up and what's causing things to go down. So you would have noticed this. You've done a bit of trading, you said yourself. So you probably noticed before, the market goes down and then it reverses and goes up, and it goes down and goes up, and it'll keep doing this forever, just the peaks and troughs. And I've always sort of been interested in what's actually causing that market to change direction. And I thought, well, if I could work that cause out, then I could predict, I could forecast that cause in the future, and then watch the market go in, lead up into that cause, and watch for it to repeat the same way that it's repeated before in the past. And so the methods that I've employed are from a guy called W.D. Gann, who predicted, he's a famous sort of trader back in the early 1900s, where he predicted commodity movements and stock market movements, and was very accurate in predicting the exact date that stocks would change direction, and the exact prices that they would change direction and stuff. So that's where I kind of got into it, and that's sort of sparked my interest into kind of studying what he was doing. The only thing was when I actually started studying his methods, he was sort of talking about all these abstract things that I kind of, in society, people don't really, don't give much respect to. They, if you spoke about the stuff that I'm doing to the average person, then they probably think you're crazy, and that's just the way that it is. But it definitely works. I can promise you that, and we'll prove that to you with some examples in the video, and obviously we'll see what happens in the future from here on end. So to explain it to you, there's five cycles which continually repeat, and without going into the exact scientifics of it and the calculator and showing you how it's calculated, because it would just confuse you. And I can go into that at some point in time if you're interested. I've assigned 5 colors, a color to each cycle to represent it in that way, so people can understand it. And Didier's brother Enrico, he's the only guy that I've taught some of this stuff to. So I'm not sure if you're in contact with Enrico, if it's just Didier, but if you did have contact with Enrico, you could definitely speak to him and say, what's your experience of what I'm doing with this sort of stuff, and his experience in my predictions, because I predicted a lot of things to him in regards to the Dow Jones, which is what I trade mostly. I've always wanted to trade Bitcoin, man, consistently, but the problem is with IG Markets, which is the company I trade with, Bitcoin they don't allow Bitcoin trading over the weekends. So it's you can't really take positions on a Friday night and then have Bitcoin, go against you over the weekend and not being able to activate a stop loss or something like that. So from that perspective, it's difficult to trade Bitcoin. I can only trade it between a Monday and Friday. If there's some trades that are coming in earlier in the week, then I can trade it and then close it out before Friday, sort of thing. But so yeah, I've been limited in what I can do. So I'm really excited to work with you and trade some of the alt currencies, because the moves that they make are just ridiculous. You know, you're having some of these currencies doing, you know, 1,000% is like the norm these days. And if you're not making 1,000%, then you're doing something wrong. You know, it's ridiculous. Whereas when you come from the stock market, if you can double your money in a quick period of time, you've done very well. Whereas in crypto, it's a lot easier, it seems. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities coming up. So yeah, so in terms of cycles, so we've got a green cycle. I've given the color green, blue, purple, yellow, and red. They're the 5 different colors. Bitcoin tends to work with to the blue cycle and to the green cycle. Now, when these cycles actually begin and end, they generally take between 1 to 2 weeks, depending upon the specific period of that cycle. So you've got 12 cycles altogether. In terms of every color has 12 cycles in one whole big cycle, if that makes sense. So we'll just focus on the green one. So the green cycle, you'll have a green cycle that will start on a particular date. It will end, it will finish, and then a couple months later, you'll get another green cycle. And then a month later, you'll get another green cycle, and there'll be 12 of them, which are all slightly different, but they are green. And it takes about 1.8 years to go from the first cycle all the way to the end cycle, the last one. And then after 1.8 years, about 680 days, we start the exact same process again. So the positioning of the cycle at the beginning is exactly the same as it would be 1.8 years from now. And so what we're trying to do, especially with any market that we're trading in, whether it's Bitcoin, the Dow, it doesn't matter. We want to see markets repeating. We want to see the same people, the same traders making the same decisions under the same conditions. That's what I'm really interested in, because if I see those patterns forming, then you can predict what's most likely to happen in the future after that. And then, you know, there's some really big opportunities where you can do quite well. So the current climate that we're in right now, Bitcoin entered a green cycle on the 29th of, I'll just zoom in there so you can see, the 29th of August. Where was the date there? Yeah, just there, the 29th of August. And we went up for a couple of days and we topped on the 2nd. And the ending of that green cycle was on the September the 11th, just there. So if we color, if you can look at that period just here, if we color from the beginning of the cycle to the end of it, and we just put, let's say we had a highlighter, a green highlighter, and we highlighted that area, it's green, and then we've dropped ever since then. We haven't gone past that period. So if I can go to 2013, we topped we had a double top, so they're pretty much the same prices. We had one top on the 30th of November, 2013, and then we had another top on the 4th, which is down here. And so in this situation, the green period entered on the 24th of November, and the green period ended on the 8th, just on that bottom there. And then we had what's called a first sharp decline, which is very similar to the one we've had now. And then we had a secondary advance, and the market ran up into the next green period. So we had a green period here, we had different colored cycles in between, and then the next green period repeated here. And they generally repeat every 2 or 3 months after, one to 2 months generally. It depends on the specific period of it. But what's interesting, and what I wanted to get this out to you straight away, is that the current period that we're in now, it's the cycle, the green cycle that came in here that called the all-time high in 213 is the exact same positioning as this cycle. It's just it's 3.6 years on, so it's just under 4 years. So 2017 September is the same as 2013 in December. So this green period here is the exact same one as the other one. That's what I'm trying to get at. And so we've had the first sharp decline here. And what I'm expecting now is a secondary advance into that next green period, which is coming on October the 9th. It enters, and the top should be a few days after. Usually the top comes a couple of days after it enters, and then we start to have a secondary top up there, and then we should come down and retest this 3,000 level. I think we're going to come below 3,000, but for the trade that I want to take, I'd be definitely buying everything back here. So the trade that I'm looking at is, from a technical perspective, I'm not sure if you've learnt the Head and Shoulders formation. If you haven't learnt it, we've got a Head and Shoulders formation. Essentially is if you can imagine a human, he's got a shoulder here, he's got a head here, and then he's got another shoulder here. So if we draw a line from that shoulder, what tends to happen with markets is you have a shoulder, a head, and then the market will come back down, and as it goes back up into that left shoulder, it creates a very strong resistance point. So the price target that I've got for Bitcoin is between this area of resistance here and this top up here at 4,600. Now, what's really fascinating, I'm going to show you, I'm going to go back to the 2013, have a look at this decline from, we have the first little one, and then have a look at this decline from here into the bottom. It's very, very similar to the one in 2013, and the rally that we've had so far is very similar to the one that we had back then. So it seems to me that the traders, the people trading in this market, are definitely repeating what happened back then, and that's why we can foresee that when the next green period repeats itself here, if the market's running up, it's got to be running up into that period. If it hits that price band in that time period, we should get a really big drop into 3,000 and actually below that point. If Bitcoin is doing something else on October the 9th and 10th, if it's running down, then we would expect it to be a bottom and expect it to start going back up. And then there wouldn't be a trade there unless, we wanted to buy it at that point. But I'm only want to trade this if it runs up into this point, because if let's say, as an example, if Bitcoin got back up into this area of resistance, the 4,500, 4,600 mark, if, as an example, we sold, say, 500 Bitcoins there, our stop loss won't have to be that big. We'd only have to be risking a couple $100. And our potential gain will be, 1,600. So it's a really good risk reward ratio. And I've done the math on it as an example. And I mean, we can sell more. We don't have to just sell 500. We can sell more than 500. But as an example, if we sold just say 500 at, I'm going to be conservative and say 4,400. I always like being conservative when I do these figures. So, you just have a very conservative expectation. And so we sell the 500 at that level, and then we want to buy the Bitcoins back at, say, 3,100, which is being a bit conservative because we want to buy it at a little bit less than that. So you started with 500, now you've got 710 essentially. And once you divide the 210 by, if you divide 210, the extra Bitcoins that you've got by 4, that would give me 50, and you'd get 150, and we're both happy. We're both, we've both made some extra coins, and we just keep repeating that same process. If we're going to go into I'm betting there's a 95% chance that this top that we've made here because it's come into this ground